Hey everyone, Jonathan and Molly here, and welcome back to Savoring the Magic, where we believe there is magic in the details.
That's right. So we are back at Disney Springs tonight because Disney's latest animated film, Wish, has hit theaters. We're super curious, so we are here. So we're gonna go grab some dinner and then go see the movie, which of course we can't show you the movie, but afterwards we're gonna give you a non-spoiler review and then a spoiler review. So come along with us on this film excursion. And you get the added benefit of just seeing Disney Springs looking beautiful and Christmas-like at night.
This is true. Big highlight. And they have the Disney 100 here at the beginning. I will say one of my favorite things about Disney Springs in the evenings is just all the live entertainment options.
I know.
There are kind of stages, I would say probably maybe 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's the big one over in Marketplace, and there's smaller ones kind of set up all over the place. And all with live entertainment. It's a lot of fun. It creates a nice atmosphere in the evenings. And then, of course, you're also getting a little sneak peek of the Christmas tree trail, all of that lit up. Which, don't worry, we'll be covering that soon.
So we are hitting our old standby Pizza Ponte.
Yes.
You need a gigantic slice of pizza that's relatively cheap for Disney standards and good.
Always good, and annual pass holders can get 15% off there, just as a reminder.
Also a plus.
Which is a pleasant surprise, seeing that most quick service places don't do annual pass holder at all.
This is true.
And it's slightly more than the typical 10%, so even more of a reason to go to Pizza Ponte.
Just a little bit of wayfinding. If you're coming in from the Orange Garage, you'll take a right of this bridge, and Pizza Ponte is connected to Maria and Enzo's, right up here on the left.
Yep.
Right next to Aerophile. There's a little look at the menu. I always get the big Roman.
I switch it up, so.
And Molly kind of goes all right. They also have a pretty solid cannoli and tiramisu here as well. So.
And cheesecake.
And cheesecake. Really, there's...
We're experts. What can I say?
And here's what we're dealing with. Molly got the fungi.
Yep.
And I got the big Roman, which lives up to its name. It's the size of my hand next to it.
For context.
And we got the specialty apple pie
Cannoli.
So how could we not?
How could we not? My fault. And then we got the best bottled water, by the way. So just in general, this isn't the only place in Disney Springs that sells it, but it honestly is the best. So.
All right, so I got overly excited and ate my half. And
yeah.
Film it.
So someone is not going to be in the reaction because they cheated.
That's right, I did. But it was excellent.
So here we go. It has like apple pie spice, like in the. Crap, that is really good. Yeah, it has like cinnamon and different apple pie spices in the ricotta. So obviously now you're going to Pizza Ponte for this. You're welcome.
That's right. I told you, life changing. All right, we have concluded dinner.
Yes.
Good as always.
And now we're going for, I was going to say dessert, but we had dessert in there. Really, we're just going to get coffee.
It's a
I consider that to be a dessert.
It's a little bit of a nightcap.
That's probably not accurate, but it's fine. This should be fair. I wouldn't normally drink coffee this late, but we're going to see a movie, and then we have to react to a movie and have thoughts. So
have thoughts.
Caffeine is needed. And when we're at Disney Springs, we don't mess around. It's Joffrey's or bust. Just kidding. But usually it is Joffrey's.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not every day you have rollerblading snowflakes behind you, so.
This is true. So for those of you who don't know, in Joffrey's, you can get actual like resort specific
And restaurant
and
specific.
restaurant specific. So like we have Alder Brown Derby. That is Alani.
Oh, here's Sanaa.
Sanaa, which Molly was just at. I told her.
Yes.
This is the Kona blend that they're from.
Looks like Trattoria Al Forno up here.
Yeah. We love that place.
Yes, we do. They have great coffee.
And they always have seasonal stuff too. So we have a.
Although you
Christmas
can tell
mix.
this recently came out because, man,
Yeah, it is empty.
it's picked over.
Shelves
But that
are
one was
there.
like cinnamon and vanilla nut, and that's like a mint and white chocolate. It's old Grogu on the cover.
There are big Joffrey stands.
Yes.
So the more you know. So this will come into play soon. We do our Christmas tree stroll video, but Joffrey's is one of the places that you can get the map, and it's also a redemption location.
Yes.
So
So
that
there are
is-
several of these, but
Yeah.
we noticed it while we were in there waiting for our coffee. One of the best holiday transformations in Disney Springs, the hangar bar into the holiday bar.
So the construction walls have finally come down over here by Summer House on the Lake. Really gorgeous exterior here. And it doesn't open for probably a couple more weeks. I think it's by the end of the year, unless something changes. There'll be a lot of indoor, outdoor seating. You can see here at the front, this is what the menu board will be. All right, so we have finished our coffees and
Yes.
got inside here.
Right beside our
And,
theater, Theater 2.
Theater 2. So we've kind of intentionally not read a whole lot about this thing.
Yes.
We saw a preview of a couple scenes and then the song when we were at D23 back in, was that September last year?
Yeah, so D23 Expo out in Anaheim last year.
Yeah.
We got to be in the live action panel, and this is what it closed with, like the concept art and a little bit about the characters, and then they had Alan Tudyk,
Yep,
and of course, because he's voicing the goat,
naturally.
naturally, it
Makes his
has
way
to
into
be.
every Disney film here
That's
lately.
right. And then Ariana DeBose, obviously, with voicing the main character.
Yep.
And then we got to hear the iconic
Yeah.
song for the main song for the film
So
in
incredible.
person. It was incredible. And that was enough to hook us. So really, we were just like, now we're just waiting for this movie to come out. And now it's here. So obviously, we can't take you any further than this, but
Yes.
we're about to go do this.
All right. See you on the flip side.
That's right.
All right, so we just got out of the movie. What's
Yes.
your initial thoughts?
So initial non-spoilery thoughts.
Yes.
I really liked it. In fact, whenever it was done, I turned to Jonathan and I said, this is a love letter to 100 years of animation at Walt Disney Studios.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much to make me cry in a movie, I will admit that. But I definitely cried several times during this movie. It did this incredible job of, telling a story obviously based around wishes. You know, the tagline itself is maybe a little predictable and cheesy, right?
Yeah.
Like, be careful what you wish for. But, you know, Snow White started out by wishing well, obviously Jiminy Cricket. Like, you have so many threads throughout all of Disney canon, really, about wishes. So I think the whole concept for this was perfect for the company. But then also to weave in so many references to classic animated films and even newer ones, not just classic ones, not just the ones that we all grew up on, all that jazz, but like the originals and the things that came out just a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's very beautifully done. The music is a lot of fun. Kind of gives you a little bit of flavor from everything. Like, you have a little bit of Encanto kind of feel in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you have that, I equate it with Frozen, not that others haven't had like their own power ballad, but I feel like
Frozen is.
Idina Menzel and
Yeah.
like Elsa, it's definitely one that you think of. And she has that, Asha has that in the film.
Yeah.
And that song is, all the songs are gorgeous. So like Julia Michaels and
Is it Benjamin Rice?
Benjamin Rice, yes, who did the lyrics for the songs. I feel like they knocked it out of the park.
They did a really nice job of blending. I think each song is a different style,
It is,
and with a little bit of a nod to different eras.
yeah,
There's a little bit of Moana in there for me.
yep,
Overall, I think it was to me, for me, even better than I expected.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of intentionally didn't read a lot about it, although I'd heard some, initial reviews
Yeah.
from some people. But I think overall, if you're a Disney fan, I think you would enjoy the film.
Yes.
It definitely harkens back to kind of their more classic approach, I think, to storytelling.
The animation was beautiful.
Animation was gorgeous. If you're a fan, this isn't really a spoiler,
No.
but the way that it opens up,
It's a classic.
it's classic. I mean,
Yeah.
right back to Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, all those.
Snow White.
I especially love that. To me, there is a lot of Sleeping Beauty
And Snow White.
and Snow White kind of, even in the camera work.
Yeah.
So that stuff I love. And obviously there are a ton of Easter eggs, some more subtle than others.
Yeah.
But there's some really, really minute details to me, even with kind of like transitionatory, mess that word up.
Transitioning? I don't know.
It's late. A lot of the elements, just in between, like the animation, just like kind of transitioning scenes.
Yeah.
That I can link back to, really early films. And I won't get into too much of the spoilers. We'll get into that later. But I really, really enjoyed it.
So I would need to, or obviously we're going to watch this movie probably again and again. It
Yeah.
has that factor to it.
Sure.
And I can't say this with certainty, but I feel like there's probably a good chance that there are nods to every single Disney animated film in this movie.
I think it's quite possible.
I think it's very possible.
Yeah.
And even some not animated films, just popular
Just
Disney films.
Yeah.
So not just limited to animation.
Yeah,
It was really good.
it was. Highly recommend.
Really endearing, really heartwarming,
Yeah.
very magical, obviously. Like there's a star, there's wishes. That was exciting.
There's helicopters as well.
Not in the movie, but here. You're welcome.
Yes. If you've ever been to Disney Springs, you know how it
Then
goes.
you know, yeah.
So I think before we get into spoiler territory,
Yes,
we should do that from somewhere else.
that's right.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Ah,
And
better.
just like that, our wish was granted. We are
right.
home. Yep, you're welcome.
So it goes without saying, if you made it this far in the video,
Yeah.
we're going to be talking spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, you should stop the video now.
Stop.
And then come back and watch it.
Yes, after you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
So, okay, with that said, spoilers ahead. That's right. Jonathan will make movie magic happen there.
Yes.
All right, so I feel like the easiest place to start is the villain.
Yes.
What did you think?
I liked it overall. I think there are moments when it's a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think it's on those things like
It feels intentional,
It feels
yeah.
intentionally overdone in certain moments. Mm-hmm. There is like a certain maleficent quality to kind of the more evil side of it. I felt like there was some like Ursula / Maleficent kind of imagery. And
Well, you have like the Ursula imagery instead of like, turning people into these little things.
Yeah.
You have their essence still, right? And like
Right.
even like the orb kind of stuff, it does give
very similar. Kind of.
the Ursula kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
I feel like going down into the depths of the castle to like open the forbidden book and stuff, that felt very Evil Queen, Snow White.
Maleficent even, there's
Yes.
some of that.
Yes. Even I was thinking about the castle design itself. Like if it were
Yeah.
broken, it
Yeah.
would look very similar to Maleficent's castle. Like there's some design qualities to it that kind of harken back to that.
And obviously, green is
Yeah.
so paramount in Maleficent's character, so there's
And with
that
her
kind of-
magic in particular. And so there's a lot of that and a lot of flame kind of looking stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot of Maleficent. I think it was a good choice for Chris Pine. I feel like it's not just because Chris Pine is a good actor, he is, and obviously he kills it as a voice actor and he kills it on his songs, but like because of Into the Woods and how he plays like the arrogant prince in that, I kind of loved that parallel because he is also arrogant in this. And
For sure.
to their credit, it doesn't take very long for that side of him.
No, the turn
to
is
show.
is pretty early, or at least the tease of the turn
Yeah.
is pretty early in the film.
And then full evil, I mean, happens about the time that you think it would.
Yeah.
Kind of like the bad guys, gain power kind of point in the script between, or, going toward Act 3.
Yeah.
So it happens at the time that you think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I thought the casting was, like I said, well done. I like all the nods to villain stuff, even a little bit of Hades. I don't know what it was,
a little bit.
but I think it's just some of the imagery probably that made me think of that. And some of the wit, like some of these things like in Hercules, I feel like Hades is like very clever with the way that he speaks and everything, the way he's written. And I felt a little bit of that in the way that Magnifico is written in the thing. I love that he has like his own little song, like "This is the things I get" kind of thing. It was well done. It sums up the character.
I had heard earlier on, I'd heard like a clip of it, and there was some chatter online who were complaining it sounded a lot like the song from Moana, Maui's song.
Oh yeah.
But that song has a much different turn.
Yes.
This song has a much different turn than that song.
It's like the foil to that song.
Well, it is, but they kind of, I think, very intentionally left the back end of that song out in the preview, so you don't get the full kind of context.
Yeah, because really it is his full turn into the villain,
100%.
like that song.
So I appreciated that, the way they kind of tease that and then revealing it in the song.
Yeah.
But I think overall, you kind of, I think in the modern movie climate, long movies are just like a thing.
Yeah.
And this is like it's
a tight hour and a half.
It's a tight hour and a half, which is really much more in line with how Disney films used to be.
Yeah.
Especially the animated features. So I think there's not a lot of, fat to trim in this movie. It's very tight. I think it's very cohesive.
Yeah.
From a story point. It actually, something I was thinking when we were driving back here, was there is a tendency, I think, for an overcomplicated plot sometimes. Mm-hmm. And this has the right amount of vagueness for me in that, I really love Frozen 2. Mm-hmm. And I know Frozen 2 gets some vitriol as far as the, what the voice is supposed to be and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, quick plug for Disney Plus series. The making of Frozen 2 is a very intriguing documentary, and I think very open as to how that thing is created. And I always think about that documentary whenever I watch animated films now, because you just know how much revision and story and massaging that happens in these things.
Yeah. And for the record, you also have a lot of the same development team for Frozen working on this. You have Jennifer Lee,
Chris Buck.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about that while I was watching it, like all the work that it probably took to distill down, what the star is going to be and kind of how that relates.
What the parameters of that is going to be, how it relates to the people, which they really reveal the connection in a song. And it's, in the moment, it's like a fun song, and you're just kind of like, oh, like this is cute, and like you have the animals singing, and so it's the, I'd forget the name, but You're a Star. Yeah. Okay, so, and it's funny in the moment because it's like, oh, like this is just fun, and like the star is like sprinkling stuff on all the animals, and it's a fun number, but basically like talking about how we're all connected and like Stardust and the universe and like all this kind of big concept stuff, and it's really interesting because it ties back into the end. Like that funny song that you just enjoy in the moment in theater, it's also setting up what's going to be the resolution at the end.
Well, it's something, we were listening to the music on the drive home full.
Yeah, just kind of preparing to get our thoughts together for a spoiler review.
I was even noticing in the welcome song in the very beginning of the film, it says something about him with bright, was it green eyes and shooting lightning from his thing.
And like, we're just kidding.
Just kidding. But there's foreshadowing in like the first, 5 minutes of the movie.
Yes.
I really like stuff like that because it kind of gives pointers or breadcrumbs before you know that you are there.
Well, and that kind of stuff, that's very Menken and Howard Ashman kind of stuff that they started doing in the 80s and early 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like you saw a resurgence of that kind of approach to the music with the latest Little Mermaid movie, the live action one. And so it's kind of fun to see it here. And it's definitely like a musical theater
Yes.
Trick, if you will.
And there's a lot of nods.
Yes.
In this movie, as far as the way the music, kind of weaves with the storytelling.
Yeah. So like you really have to pay attention. You know what I mean? Like, but if you pay attention and you see how they really do close out everything that they set up in the songs, and I love that because you are closing story loops in that way. And so I feel like as long as you're paying attention to music and you're hearing everything, then this feels like truly a complete story in that way. Because the whole thing about Connected, and there's like little bits of stars in all of us, like that's how they end up defeating him in the end. And I liked that full circle. Which there's a lot of full circle stuff in this. The whole beginning of it is her just wanting her grandfather's wish to be granted. He's 100 years old, not a mistake. He's definitely a representation of kind of the Disney company in general, but also Walt. I feel very strong Walt vibes with him. Yeah. And she retrieves his wish, and he's able to do it. And his whole thing is that he wants to impact generations to come. And like I said, this is a spoiler review, so I will give away the end credit. I don't care. Yeah. We warned you. But like the very end credit of the song is him plucking on the guitar and playing "When You Wish Upon a Star," which is one of the most iconic Disney songs of all time. So even just like small ways that you closed that and brought it all the way around in the movie, loved that. I feel like we've talked a lot. I feel like we've talked about the story a good bit. Yeah. Obviously, the villain. So like, let's talk about how brilliant these Easter eggs are.
It's one of those things I know I didn't catch all of them.
No, you're going to see me pull up my phone because some of the names of the friends were kind of hard for me to hear.
It is one thing that the theater we were in, the music was so loud that it was really hard to hear the lyrics on some songs.
Another reason why we listened to the songs on the way home.
And I think it was just the theater mix we were in because I hadn't heard any complaints about that before. And we were noticing even in the trailers beforehand.
Yeah, we were having a hard time.
The mix was just off. So yeah, there was some things that I missed, I know, in the songs.
Yeah. One of the biggest nods, which I thought was really cool, was that her 7 friends that you encounter, they're all based off of one of the dwarves from Snow White, the 7 dwarves, and all of their names start with the first letter of the one that they're based on. Yeah. So like Dahlia is inspired by Doc, and even their coloring and their outfits and stuff, it's reminiscent of what the dwarves wore in the original animated feature. Even the one that does Dopey, like his ears moved at one point. I can't tell you how magical that was, but it was. Gabo, of course, grumpy. You have Hal, who's a joyful girl, so she's inspired by Happy. Yeah. Simon, inspired by Sleepy. Safi, inspired by Sneezy. Dario is Dopey, and then Bazima is bashful. So that was quite neat. Yeah. You have her like walk by a wishing well at one point. That was very Snow White. Of course, all the talking animals we can, that's just like everything.
Well, and even some of the designs are straight out of Sleeping Beauty, straight out of
the flower designs. Very Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. That was kind of cool.
Her transition at the end with the wand is straight out of Cinderella.
Oh, 100%.
And even her like kind of little twirl thing is very much Cinderella.
Fantastic. There is Peter Pan.
Yeah, Peter's just like
Peter's
straight
just like
in the movie.
In there. But even before that, whenever Magnifico is like popping people's dreams, which heartbreaking part of the movie. I cannot begin to tell you this. Like the first one he pops is her mom's. Yeah. And like the grief and like the loss of like part of her essence, it made me really emotional in theaters. Yeah. And then to see it happen to a few other characters along the way, like you do feel this great loss. So I feel like they did a really good job of setting up just how vital these wishes are to the people that they belong to. Yeah. Also neat that they kind of transitioned into like once you gave your wish, you forgot about it. And he saw it as an unburdening of stuff. But instead you were just stealing parts of these people. So it was really quite cool. Yeah. But anyway, whenever he's popping, like one of the guy's dreams is to fly, and it's like, how about Neverland, you know? There was a Mary Poppins reference. It was, oh my gosh. I loved all of that so much.
There were obviously some not so subtle ones like those.
Yes.
But then there was just little tiny things of like the way things were animated or some of the camera movements were very much like Beauty and the Beast, or like whenever you still had the multi-plane camera work. Even the animation style and a lot of those points were just
that was really neat.
Very much in that vein.
Even whenever they jump to open up the tower, I was like, that is both Hunchback of Notre Dame and Tarzan at the same time. Like, I can't explain how both are true, but there are just things about all the movements that happened to where it was very reminiscent of that. You had the Zootopia joke at the end from Valentino.
Yep.
Valentino.
MVP to Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk, once
as
again.
always.
I mean, just so we're clear, I think that Alan Tudyk is the highlight of pretty much every Disney film that he's in. Shout out to Hey Hey. He is that crazy chicken on Moana, and it makes me laugh every time. It doesn't matter how many times I see it. And he's great in this as well. And he gets to have a lot of one-liners throughout the thing.
It's a very funny movie, actually.
It is.
And like, our theater was pretty packed overall.
Yeah, it was.
And I feel like there was quite a lot of laughter going on.
There was.
By kids and adults. So.
It was actually really sweet, though. Whenever the final credit ended, like, the whole theater erupted in applause.
Yeah.
And there was something really special about that. That just doesn't happen very much anymore. To me, like, obviously we go to the movies a fair amount. You might have some people clap, but, like, it was the entire
it was a nice
theater. Moment. And the star itself.
Yeah, it's very, very adorable.
Yes.
It has, like, almost like a Grogu kind of
effect.
Quality.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't talk.
Yes, it does.
But it emotes.
Yes.
You know, very well.
I was trying to think. I know there are others that, like, in the moment, I was like, oh, like she jumps out of a boat and swims back to land at one point, and like that was very Moana, kind of making a decision.
Like I said, I think we have to see it again. I think to even get half.
I know
of the references.
I know, and truly, I think probably every single Disney animated film is probably referenced in this thing. It might take me about 15 watches to figure it all out, but I would be willing to say that's probably true.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, anything else you want to add?
I really enjoyed it. I think it's going to be one of those movies that whenever I do rewatch it, I think I'll just appreciate it more and more as far as just the details.
Yes, I think so too. And also, like we said before, though, the songs, beautiful, like everything. And
DeBose did a tremendous job.
Such a tremendous job.
You can really feel the emotion from her, really in throughout the film, but particularly in that main song and then the reprise at the end of it.
Oh gosh, the reprise.
It really got me.
Guys, we were both just, we're fine. We're
allergies.
fine.
I really enjoyed it, and I think if you're a Disney fan of any major capacity, I think you would enjoy it.
I think you'll find a lot of little details to love in it.
Yeah.
And go see it.
That's
I feel
right.
like it's a great film to see during the holidays too.
It is, and let me go on my soapbox for just a second. Animation in general, I feel like kind of gets the short end of the stick sometimes, and if you can, obviously movies are expensive, but if you can go see it, I think you would, you would really enjoy it.
I think it's worth the watch.
And I think it does a nice job of honoring all the films in the last 100 years that come before it. And I still think, animation is the heart of Disney. And I think this really, really contributes to that.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope it's going to do well for them. Mainly because I feel like it deserves to do well. Like I feel like this movie is really well done.
I think it will have good word of mouth. I think once it
We're doing our part.
We're trying.
We don't get any benefit from this. We just we just really like the movie and want to tell you about it.
So if you enjoyed our rambling through this movie, you know where to find us. And if you'd like to see more of this kind of thing, definitely let us know in the comments.
That's right. And if you have seen the movie, drop down your favorite Disney Easter egg. Don't spoil it for anyone, but your favorite nod to a character or film. Just drop it below.
That's right. So like I said, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. It really helps us out. We have videos coming out every Wednesday and Saturday. But until next time, keep savoring the magic.